10 times humans came close to extinction. In future studies, human extinction is the hypothetical end of the human species. Though many say these potential doomsday scenarios are highly unlikely, mankind has come quite close many times in the past to losing the battle for survival. Besides that, there are many other philosophers who argue that not only is humanity's extinction extremely possible, it is imminent.
Hi everyone, this is Crypto Queen bringing you an awesome creepy video.
Number 10. Indonesia's Toba Volcano. Sometime around 75,000 years ago, humanity came quite close to extinction. The cause of our near demise? A supervolcano. You see, on the site of present-day Lake Toba in Indonesia, a massive volcanic eruption took place, one of the largest eruptions in all of Earth's known history. The Toba eruption was so ground-shaking that the planet went through a global volcanic winter of 6 to 10 years and possibly a 1,000-year cooling episode. Anne Gibbons, a science journalist, suggested that the population bottleneck, which took place approximately 70,000 years ago, could have stemmed from this uncanny explosion. Several scientists and researchers in the field support her theory. For you see, around 3,000 cubic kilometers of ash was released during this cataclysmic event, which unleashed millions of light-blocking particles into the atmosphere, killing many plants and trees and blocking rainfall for quite some time. Some experts believe that the entire population of Earth may have whittled down to between 1,000 and 10,000 people. Number 9. The Last Ice Age. Around 1,095,000 years ago, our world was plunged into an ice age. Temperatures plummeted, glaciers expanded, and entire habitats were destroyed. During this difficult time for our species, the human breeding population is believed to have shrunken down to a mere 600 or so people. Many of these survivors settled in South Africa, finding grounds rich in plants that stored their energy in starchy tubers below the surface of the soil. The water near this last human settlement remained warm thanks to the swimming shellfish. A cave near Pinnacle Point in South Africa shows evidence that people used shellfish shells as tools and possibly learned to utilize fire here as well, heating and tempering their stone tools. As humans continued to survive this ice age, they grew smarter and more adaptive, which helped create what we now consider modern human beings. So, we may have almost been wiped clean off the face of the Earth, but what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Number 8. Asteroid Attack. One scientific theory states that long ago, an enormous asteroid smashed into Earth, causing great environmental repercussions, including the extinction of the dinosaurs. There are believed to be billions of these humongous formations of rocks plummeting through space, and NASA, with all of its instruments, telescopes, and satellites, has no idea where approximately 98% of these asteroids are heading. And there have been many times throughout our history that an asteroid has almost smashed into the Earth and possibly end all human life on this planet, just like those poor dinosaurs. If an asteroid is big enough and hits the planet, it could cause lots of global disasters, including blocking out sunlight from the debris, acid rain, firestorms, tsunamis, earthquakes, and widespread violent riot-born panic. In 2012, an asteroid named DA14 passed very close to Earth, making it inside the orbit of our moon. In 2005, asteroid MN4 had a 1 in 60 chance of crash landing on our planet. Luckily for us, it missed. However, one scientist at NASA estimated that this MN4 asteroid, based on its trajectory and orbit patterns, will hit Earth on April 13, 2029. And in 2017, asteroid 001 barely missed our planet as it flew through the solar system. Some say it's only a matter of time. Number 7. The Ebola virus outbreak. In 1976, a sick man stumbled into a tiny hospital in the jungles of the Congo, complaining of a headache, chills, and blood seeping out of every hole in his body. In a matter of days, half the hospital's population had passed from this world. The World Health Organization sent in surveyors, many of which quickly contracted the disease, many losing their lives within hours of infection. Luckily, it was quickly made obvious that containment and quarantine 2019 were the best ways to deal with this highly infectious and notoriously nasty, usually fatal, disease. It is considered fortunate that this outbreak happened in an extremely remote area of the world. Had this first infected man ended up in a more densely populated area, like a marketplace or worse on an airplane, this outbreak could have caused a worldwide epidemic, which could have easily wiped out humanity. There have been several outbreaks of this virus, which is called Ebola, since then, including the largest epidemic, which lasted from December 2013 to January of 2016, resulting in over 28,000 cases and over 11,000 of those cases not making it through. Yet, despite this outbreak being the largest to date, the original outbreak back in 1976 was far more dangerous, as we had no idea what we were dealing with, and one wrong move could have led to the end of human life on this planet. Number 6, nearly nuclear war. These weapons of massive destruction have been used twice in our world's history, both times by the United States against Japan in a desperate attempt to end the Second World War. These bombings had prolific effects. Hundreds of thousands lost their lives, and the radiation left over from these weapons caused problems for many years after. The climatology hypothesis is that if an all-out nuclear war broke out and 10 to 100 of these nuclear bombs went off, each city would be engulfed in firestorms. Huge amounts of soot would get thrown into the atmosphere, which could blanket the Earth, cutting out sunlight for years on end, ending nearly all forms of vegetation, which could result in nuclear winter, and there is no telling how long it would last. Also, that much radiation caused by those nuclear explosions could make the air toxic and poisonous to breathe, which could spell extinction for the human race. One very close call to an all-out nuclear war happened in 1995, when a team of Norwegian and American scientists launched a 4-stage rocket carrying scientific equipment around the globe. In its air path was the capital city of Russia. When Russia spotted the rocket, they feared it was a nuclear warhead and armed their own weapons of mass destruction. After Russia activates their nuclear briefcase, there is a 10-minute decision deadline. After activating the nuclear keys, the Russians began the countdown. But just then, the rocket faltered, falling into the sea, allowing Russia to come to their senses and withdraw their attack. Only a few minutes more, and Russia would have launched a counterattack, which could have erupted in a full-scale nuclear war and the end of human life on our planet. Number 5, nearly nuclear war part 2. The Cuban Missile Crisis. On October 27th, an armada of American ships trapped a Soviet sub off the coast of Cuba. That sub just so happened to be armed with a nuclear arsenal. As the Russian submarine dove underwater, the American forces decided to take action. They started dropping death charges on them to scare them into resurfacing. The captain aboard the Soviet submarine believed that a nuclear war had already begun, and with an authorization from Moscow to launch, the captain and his political officer prepared to launch one of their nuclear torpedoes. However, all 3 senior officers aboard the vessel had to agree in order to launch the nuclear attack, and the second in command, Vasily Akapov, disagreed and stood his ground, fighting against both his superior officers in a desperate attempt to stop the launch. And in the end, he won, and even managed to convince his senior officers to resurface the vessel. Thomas Blanton, the director of the United States National Security Archive, in 2002 publicly stated that in that moment, Vasily Akapov saved the world. Number 4, the Black Death. The outbreak of the bubonic plague was one of the most devastating pandemics in recorded history. It resulted in an estimated 75 to 200 million lost lives in Europe and Asia, with an estimated 60% of the entire population of Europe, approximately 50% of China, and 1/8 of Africa all losing their lives to this infectious disease. The Black Death is believed to have originated in Central Asia, where it traveled along Silk Road, most likely carried on the fleas of rats, who were typical passengers on merchant ships, spreading throughout the Mediterranean and Europe. The bubonic plague made its biggest dent in the world in the countries of Europe, mainly due to the superstitions of the time, especially those dealing with fears of witches. One fear in particular was the witch's familiar, the black cat. Many religious fanatics believed all cats were familiars of witches and were in league with the devil, and went about butchering any cat unfortunate enough to cross their path. With no cats to help control the rat population, once the black rats carrying the disease began to descend from the ships to the land, the human victims began to pile up, literally. Due to the deadliness of the disease, infectiousness, lack of treatment, poor hygiene, and the lack of natural predators against the vermin carrying the deadly disease, there were many frightening years wherein the entire human race faced the verge of extinction. The Black Death could very well have wiped out the entire human race altogether. The world population as a whole didn't recover until the 17th century. Number 3, the Large Hadron Collider. It's the world's largest and most powerful particle collider, the most complex experimental facility ever constructed, and the single largest machine on the entire planet. After 10 years of work, this remarkable, enormous machine was built by the European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN, in collaboration with more than 10,000 scientists and engineers from over 100 different countries. This mammoth device consists of a 17-mile-long underground tube composed of 9,000 magnets, which smashes atomic particles at a very high speed. Its purpose is to solve some of those fundamental open questions in physics, such as, what are the properties of the Higgs boson, aka the God particle? Could there be more particles out there that we have yet to discover? What makes up the deep structure of space and time? Is there an interrelation between quantum mechanics and general relativity? And what was the Big Bang really like anyway? At the Large Hadron Collider's initial launch, many felt fear and controversy. You see, many at the time believed that this experiment could accidentally create a black hole, which could lead to the end of the world. According to several statistical reports, miniature black holes could have been created during the collision, which could have potentially dissolved the planet. And in 2008, during inaugural testing, a magnet quench occurred, bending approximately 100 magnets, which led to electrical problems inside the tunnel. Around 6 tons of liquid helium vented through the tunnel, expanding and later exploding, damaging 53 superconducting magnets. This delayed the project for over a year, and many say we were fortunate that the mistake and aftermath which occurred were so minimal, as this machine has the capacity to wipe out not only all life on our planet, but perhaps all life in our galaxy as well. Some researchers want to use this device to recreate the Big Bang in order to study its effects, while other experts have stated that recreating the Big Bang could result in unknown anomalies for which our world is vastly unprepared. Could human extinction be much closer than any of us are aware? Number 2, artificial intelligence. Physicist Stephen Hawking, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, and SpaceX founder Elon Musk have expressed grave concerns that artificial intelligence could evolve to the point that human beings can no longer control it. Stephen Hawking has even gone on record to say that once humans develop artificial intelligence, it would take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. This could spell the end of the human race. Anyone can see that many countries the world over are using increasing amounts of delegating responsibility to machines. Could this be making human beings lazier, weaker, easier to take over? Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak has been quoted as saying, if we build these devices to take care of everything for us, eventually they'll think faster than us and they'll get rid of the slow humans to run companies more efficiently. Computers are going to take over from humans, no question. Could this future prediction, which is getting closer and closer to happening all the time, spell the end of humanity? Could man be the device of his own demise and not realize it until it's too late? Number 1, alien invasion. Unidentified flying aircrafts, people being abducted, and the stories matching up. Animal mutilations, eyewitnesses who have seen alien creatures, Area 51, Roswell. All of these are examples of extraterrestrials making contact with our world. Many people refuse to believe in creatures from other worlds, visitors from distant galaxies, or Martians. But what if aliens do exist? What if all the rumors, whispers, and stories are correct? What if aliens have not only visited Earth many times over, but perhaps some live here indefinitely? Could all those cave drawings and hieroglyphics of spaceships and strange-looking otherworldly creatures be authentic? And if aliens have made contact with our planet, what is it they want from Earth? Some believe that these creatures from the stars are researching our planet, waiting for their chance to attack. Do they want our resources? Are they going to enslave us or destroy us? Could they be studying our species? Could these ancient alien architects have more to do with our creation than anyone in the scientific community is willing to admit? And if they created us, is it only a matter of time before they decide this experiment is over and wipe human beings off the face of the universe? Most who do believe in extraterrestrials are convinced that these creatures do not mean humankind well, and one day will cause the extinction of our species. It may sound far-fetched, but hey, you never know.
I'll see you in this video for more creepy stuff.